Imagine the scenario. You've got a portfolio of your best images, or you've just completed a photography project, or perhaps you've just come back from a long photography holiday and you've got an amazing collection of images and you want to show them off. You want to show them to your friends, to your family, or even to your camera club. How do you do that? Do you get your phone out and show them on a teeny weeny screen like that? Or do you want to do something impressive, something amazing, something that will make people go, wow? Over the years, I've displayed my photographs in a variety of different ways and in their own individual ways that have all been fantastic, all been unique and worth doing. So, for example, one of the options I've got here is the old framed print there behind me. I don't think there is a better way to display your work, but framing can be quite expensive. I'm lucky I've got wall space in which to put my prints, so it's a good option, but it's not great for showing off lots of images like from a project or portfolio. The other option therefore you've got, and I've done this before as well, is you can use one of the online book publishing services. You can create a book. These are brilliant because you can put loads of pictures in there, and it's a really nice way of handing the book over and people can have a look through it and look at your photographs. It still has that wow factor. However, what happens, particularly with a portfolio, is you change your portfolio, you change your pictures. You can't change the pictures once you've printed the book. It's a one-time thing. That's it, fixed. You can change it with the frames, but it's pros and cons to each. Looks great, no flexibility. Lots of flexibility because you can change the print in the frame, but frames are quite expensive. You've got to have wall. Now, what if I told you there's something you can do that it's got the best of both worlds? You can create your own book. Now this is where these come in. These are called Spring Back Binders from Fotospeed, and I've got a couple of them here to show you. So the first one I've got here has got a collection of my images from my Discovering Dartmoor project. So I've got all these images, all printed by me, and I'll go into a bit more detail how I do this. So let's just quickly show you some of the photographs. It's an A4 leather-bound one, and I've got a bigger one here, which is the more impressive one. I've got this A3 one here, which is kind of got a canvas type feel, and I've got my photographs from the Isle of Harris in here. It's a nice big one. I mean, doesn't that look really impressive? And you can imagine that, handing that over in your camera club or to your friends or family. I mean, because no one really wants to look at a slideshow of your best images on that teeny weeny phone screen, Lightroom Mobile, or give them this. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use these, how I've, which is really easy, and then how I've printed the photographs to put in them. Right, so first of all, I'll show you how to put photographs in them. Okay, let me show you how to use the Spring Back Binders. Really easy. So I've taken all the pictures out of this one. All you need to do is you just fold it back, and then that binder bit just opens up. That's why it's called a Spring Back Binder. And then there you get these kind of cover pages, and this is where we're going to insert my prints and then put that back in. So completely flexible. You can change this as many times as you want, add images, remove prints, whatever you need to do. Now, as an example, I've just taken some prints from my archive because I don't have to do anything special to these prints to fit them in here. It doesn't require any binding or any preparation at all. So I've just taken these literally from an archive of prints that I've got, some of mostly prints from Dartmoor. I always print my photographs with a bit of a border around them anyway. It makes them easier to handle. That's the only thing you think. If you've got full bleed prints, you'll lose a bit in the binding section there. So I think that's about 20 millimeters there. So again, if you've already got all your prints made, they're all ready to go into the binder. So I've got a few vertical and I've got some horizontals here. You can just mix them all in. So just line them up, get the cover pages or and just slide them in there like that. And then this is a wee bit easier to do here. You just open that up, slide that in there like that, close it over. It's easier to do on the desk. And then you've got the photographs. They're already in the binder. This one works quite well. I keep showing you vertical images. I'll show you some horizontals if I can find it. I do take a lot of vertical images. And there we go. I'll put that one in upside down. I've not done that very well. But you can see how easy it is to change. In fact, I'll show you how easy it is to change. Because if I've got that back to front, have I got that back to front? Let's have a look. I like to do these things organically. And I've got the verticals. Yeah, got that one upside down. So I want to change it, just like I would change a picture. So I just pop the binder like that. Go there, find the photograph, turn it around, and that could easily be a new image as well, or a new print. Just line it all up again, slot it in, open up the binder, pop that back in again, close it over, job's done, and then I'm scanning through and having a look at my prints. There we go. And you can see that one's rotated nicely now. So it's incredibly easy to fit these pictures in. Now, the number of prints that you can get into a binder will depend on things like how thick your paper is. You're probably going to get at least, I use a lot of heavyweight paper, particularly the matte Barita is one I'm using at the moment. I can get at least 15, maybe 20 prints in there. But like I say, it will depend on the thickness of your paper. But I think it's a really great way of displaying your photographs. Now, prints have required no preparation at all. Like I said, I just literally grabbed them out my print archive. What I also want to show you in this video is I've done something a little bit extra for my Lewis and Harris prints, and I did the same for my Discover in Dartmoor book as well. So I've got the prints formatted here, I've got some text, and I've got some graphics, and I've got my embossed logo, because I want the, that does give you the wow factor. That's a fantastic thing. You hand that over, people can physically look through your prints. But I just want to add a little bit extra, some of my colours there from my logo and some text. I think that will just make things really pop. So in the next part of this video, I'll show you how I set up this template, and then we'll print off these images and we'll create my Isle of Harris and Lewis book. Okay, so in this part of the video, I'm going to show you how I created this template here. So I've got my image there in the middle, we've got the text here for the location, and there's some information there about the camera, the printer and the paper. As I said earlier, I'm using Fotospeed's matte Barita for all the images for this book, and I've got a bit of color branding there that goes with my logo, and I've got my embossed logo. Now this is just an example. Obviously this is the way I wanted to present my images. You might have different ideas or different styles, so this is really just to show you an example. This is not the right way to do it. This is just an example how I wanted to lay out my images, but hopefully by going through the process and showing you how I did it, you'll be able to take that technique and apply it to how you want to style your images. So I did the template all in Photoshop, so let's go to Photoshop and I'll show you what I did. Right, so the first thing is I'm going to create a vertical template. So it's going to be based on A3 paper. So that is a width of 297 millimeters, and it is a height of 420 millimeters. I'm going to use RGB color. The background content can be white or transparent. I find white a little bit easier to work with. It doesn't really matter. So click on create. So I'm given a blank A3 page here. And the next bit I'm going to do is I'm going to create some guides, some blue lines, so that allow me to position elements consistently on the page. Now, as with this example, we've got some borders around here, so I'm going to set these border lines around the page. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to set one, I like a 20 millimeter border from the top. So I'm going to drag this down until it says 20, 90. Now, it doesn't have to be precise. You can be within 0.1 of a millimeter. It doesn't really matter that much. But if you do really want to be precise and you find it difficult, if you just zoom in, you get finer control. So if I do 20 point, can I get 20? There we go. And it creates that blue line, and that will allow me to, when I put other elements on that page, it will snap to those grids. Oh, if you can't see those blue lines, if you click on view and you go to show, there's a button there that says grid. Make sure that that's ticked. Also, your rows at the top, if they're not showing the correct units, just right hand click and you can select which one. So I want to work in millimeters. Okay, so we've got 120 from the top. I'm going to allow about think 28.5. Now, obviously, I've worked all these out before. You're going to need to do a bit of experimentation, particularly if you're going to do a little bit of setup. So I'm kind of doing this from a script, so I know exactly where these lines need to go. But it did take a little bit of working out, but you'll get the idea. So 28.5, and I'll show you why it needs to be roughly about 28.5. Forget that. There. Okay. Now I've got that. I want to do one 28.5 millimeters from the right hand side. So that's 297 minus 28.5, which is about 268.5. So if I get one about 26, if I get 26, I never get it exactly. It's always zoom in again, and that will allow me to a bit finer control. 268.5. There we go. Okay. And then at the bottom, this is where the end of my image will be. I've decided it's going to be 380 millimeters. So let's see if I can get this right. I've dragged this down, 380, right there. There we go. So if I zoom back out now and I have a look, I've got this box. Now this is the box where my photograph is going to go. So I can visualize that by creating a rectangle. So if I go into a rectangle tool and I draw a basic rectangle, it doesn't matter about the size at the moment. I've already got it filled for grey. So what I can do is if I go up into the width, so the image ratio for most of my pictures will be 2:3. That's what you get off Nikon cameras. So if I do a width of 200 and a height, oops, what's going on here, 200 and then 300 pixels, it gives me a box of the correct aspect ratio. Then if I move that up into the corner, it will snap to those blue lines. Select the rectangle again, go to the rectangle tool. Now, if I drag this out without pressing any buttons, it does any old, you lose the aspect ratio. So I don't want to do that, so undo that. But if you hold down the shift button while you pull on the rectangle, it maintains that aspect ratio. So even though it's 200 by 300 pixels, I can drag it out and it will still remain that 2:3 aspect ratio. And what I should find is if I drag it all the way out, it should meet those lines perfectly, or close enough anyway. So I've got a nice visual representation of what my picture looks like. I can actually say picture goes here. I can label that layer. Okay, so I can now see where the picture's going to go. Now I want to have some information at the bottom, so I'm going to create some more guidelines. So I'm going to zoom in a bit, and the first one is going to be, I think, about 5 millimeters from the bottom of the picture. So for me, that's going to be 385 because the bottom of the picture is 380. So 385. If I can get this dialed in just right, 385. So that's where the top of the text is going to sit, where the picture was taken. And then I'm going to do another one at 390, so another 5 millimeters down. I'll get that just right. Oh, it's tricky. I'm sure there's a way, I wonder if there's a way you can type these values in, but never mind. 390, 90, and another one, which is where the lines, my branding lines are going to sit. So that'll be 395. Perfect. So if I zoom out again, there we go, we've got all my elements in place. So I'm going to put the text in now. So I'm going to zoom in. So if I scroll down, so I want the text to appear at the bottom of this line. So I'll get the text tool. And I'm just going to roughly place it there. Now the font that I've chosen to use is this Cormorant Unicase font. And I'm going to go for 12-point text. I actually want to go for the bold version. And I want the spacing to be 50. Now, I quite like this font because, you know, it's kind of got a Celtic feel about it, which I think goes well with the pictures. I think because I'm doing this book for the Isle of Harris and Lewis, if it wasn't, I'd probably just use my own font that I normally use for everything else that's branded. So I'll just type in the name. We can change it later as we add the pictures to it. So Luskintyre Beach, Isle of Harris. Okay, and I can move that text box, and I'm just going to make sure it sits at the edge, just on the top, just beneath that blue line that I've got. So that's that position there. I'm then going to get the text tool again. I'm going to type in some more text. I'm going to choose a slightly different font. I'm going to go for the same font family, but I'm going to go for the light, and I'm going to go for 10-point text. So change that. And I'm going to go for spacing of 25. And this is where I'm going to type in things like Nikon Z8, Nikon 14 to 30 millimeters f4s. Now this is just example text. When I show you how to use a template, you'll be able to change this text as you go along. It's really just for placement, so that when you come back to the template, you know which text you've got to do. Oh, and what else do I do? I always put the printer, so this will be the Canon, let's just call it Pro 300 for just now. And the reason I put in some of the technical information is because most of my prints get displayed, and certainly this form will get taken to things like camera clubs for talks and stuff. So people always ask what camera, what lens, what paper it is, that kind of stuff. So I find it useful to have that information on the print. And we're going to be using Fotospeed, Matte Baird, which is one of my new favorite papers. Baird, that's how you spell it. So we'll move that into position like so. Right, then we've got the colored elements at the bottom. Again, that's just really easy. They're just rectangles. So if I zoom out a bit, I get the rectangle tool. I'm going to change the color. So the first one is the green color, which for me is 628143. That's just my green that's from my logo. Do that. And I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to draw it across here from one edge of the frame to the other, like that. If I zoom in, I get the text control handles, and I can not the text control, the control handles, and I can adjust the size of that. I'm going to do the same again, but I'm going to use grey this time, and my grey color is 4A4849, like that. So we draw the rectangle there. There we go. We'll position that up here a little bit. If you need to finesse it a bit, just zoom in a bit, and it gives you better control. So there, we can see already that's the template. Like I say, do it the way you want to do it. It doesn't really matter. That's just how I did it. So the sizing, where I put the rulers, all open to complete interpretation, but hopefully that gives you an idea of how I've laid it out. Now, obviously, there will be a bit of figuring out, like I said. You want to figure out where your lines are going to be, a bit of experimentation. That's just how I've chosen to do it. So I can just do it from the bit of paper that I've got here. So all I do then is I just save that as a normal Photoshop file. And in the next part of the video, I'll show you how I use that to create these images to get ready for printing, and how I can reuse that template. So I'll see you again in a second. Right, welcome back. So we're going to start using my template now to create some prints. I've got it up here on the screen. I've tidied it up a bit. I've renamed some of the layers, done some just work to make it a bit nicer. I've also created other templates for different formats of pictures. So I've got an A4 horizontal, an A3 horizontal, and an A4 vertical. And you can do the same depending on aspect ratios and how you crop your pictures and whether you want them vertical, paper sizes, all sorts of stuff. But I choose to create a template for each of the major prints that I'm hoping to make, which is mostly A4 and A3. So we'll have a look at my A3 template there, ready to take a vertical image. So I'm going to grab it from Lightroom, and I've decided to print this image of Stacker Free, this black and white image of the churny water and the rocks. I think it'll look really good on that matte Baird paper. So all I do is I'm going to open up in Photoshop. So go right click, edit in Adobe Photoshop. I've got my image now open in Photoshop. So the only thing I need to quickly do is I need to convert it to sRGB, because my template's working in sRGB, not ProPhoto RGB. So I'll just do a quick conversion. And then I'm going to do right hand click the layer, going to duplicate the layer, and I'm going to duplicate it into my vertical template, like so. And if I go back to my vertical template, you can see here it's covering all of the template at the moment, so I need to resize it. So if I grab that and then press Ctrl T, which is a transform tool, I'm just going to shrink this down and I'm going to snap it to the corners where those blue lines are. That's why you put them in there, really handy. And then I just snap that out to the corners, let that go, press return, and there, that's that, all done. All I need to then do is actually go in and change the text. So grab the text tool. I want to change this to stack 3, and this is the Isle of Lewis. You notice in the final version I'm using a transparent background, but like I say, I probably could have left it at white. So it already says Fotospeed, matte burrito, Canon Pro 300, and that's the correct lens. So in fact, it's all ready to go. Now the important thing here is you don't save it, because that'll save over your template, so you have to do a file save as. So save it as a new file, and then we'll import it into Lightroom. And I'll tell you why I'm going to import it into Lightroom in a second. Okay, so I've imported that PSD file into Lightroom. As you can see, it's all formatted. I've got my picture here, got my text. It's all ready to be printed. And really the only reason I'm actually importing it into Lightroom after this is my printing workflow, which uses the Canon software. I like to execute from Lightroom, so it's just part of my workflow. You could just print it directly from Photoshop if you want. It's going to depend on your printer, the software that you use for printing, so I'm not going to go into that just now. I just happen to really like the professional layout software from Canon. There it is there, so if I just do that, that's going to fire up that bit of software, and it's going to allow me to print to my Pro 300, which is what I'm going to do next. So I'm not going to go through all the settings in that because it'll be very individual to your printer. But that hopefully shows you how you use your template. You're basically taking your picture from Lightroom, opening it up in Photoshop, copying it to a layer onto the template, layering it on top of the template, changing your text, saving it as a new Photoshop file. We don't want to overwrite your template because you want to keep that pristine, and then printing it however you do in your normal workflow. So there's a bit of a hop, skip and a jump, but once it's all laid out and printed, I think it makes a difference. So let's get that printed, and then we can get it into a book and we can see what the final result looks like. Here's the final print, and I think it looks amazing. I think it looks really good. I've got my image here centered in the paper there, nice black and white. The matte burrito paper has done a really good job of bringing out the detail. This matte burrito paper that I've been using, that I will use for all the photographs in this Spring Back Binder book, I really like it. I've been doing a lot of printing with it recently, and I really like it. I have to say, it's becoming a bit of a firm favourite. Anyway, so the photographs there, we've got the text there, we've got my brand in there, I've got my embossed logo there at the bottom, which I did with my heavy duty stamp thing. So I'm going to print a few more photographs using the template, just to give me a bit of weight to the book. So I'll do that, and then I'll come back to you and we'll put them into the binder and we'll see what it looks like as a finished product. Right, I've got the last picture here for the book. As you can see, I've used different aspect ratios using the same template. Well, this is my horizontal template. So I've got a panoramic crop here. I've used 4:5 aspect ratios. So, you can make the thing work. So I'm going to put it in here along with my other 12 or 13, I think, photographs, prints that I've made. Just put that in there like that. It goes in between the cover page. Get that lined up, and then we're just going to pop this in like that. Let it close over like that, and my book is ready. Let's have a look. There we have it, the final book. I hope you agree that is a much better way of presenting your work than showing someone a mobile phone. Your friends, family, camera club, they're going to be far more impressed with your photographs when they look through that. It's such a great way to display your work. Don't get me wrong, I'm still going to display my work up there in frames on the wall for some of my very best photographs. But this is a fantastic way to display a larger collection of work, and best of all, it's reusable. So we're about the end of this video. I hope you found it useful. If you want to see the photographs or how I created them and you want to see them in a bit more detail, I did do a video from Harris and Lewis this year. I'll pop that up at the end screen, so do check that out as well. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. I do like doing the printing videos, so I hope you found it useful. If you've got any comments or questions, please leave them below. But until the next one, I'll see you then.